But when you have the outgoing chairperson of the AU coming to the very homeland of the Kenyan candidature, could this be interpreted as an endorsement?
I don't think so. As you know, Mr. Faki is outgoing, but President Ruto also, you need to know, is right now the chair of the Reform Committee of the AU. In other words, he is now championing the process of reforming the AU. He has taken over from President of Rwanda, President Kagame, handed over to him. So I think that is was the basis of the meeting between the outgoing chair and President Ruto. I don't think he came to discuss my candidature. And I don't think that he can openly come out to support any particular candidate as an outgoing executive. I know Mr. Faki very well. As you know, he's the one who appointed me as the infrastructure champion. And I worked very closely with him during that period of time. So he's retiring, and I wish him well in his new endeavors. But as it was now, it is a three-horse race between Kenya, Djibouti, and Madagascar. And they say, may the best horse win.
In any election and in any race, there is a winner and a loser. If, unfortunately, you don't clinch it, what does this mean for you?
Of course, there's a winner and a loser. And if we win, very good for us. But if we lose, so what? We are basically here in Kenya. There will be other things for us to do. So we're not worried about losing. They say that asiyekubali kushindwa sio mshindani. But we are not competing to lose. Okay. We're competing to win.
2024, one of the major highlights was the events that led to the June 25th, popularly known as the Gen Z protests. And what is your reflection?
Well, Gen Z was basically a continuation of what we had done last year. Remember, last year we were on the streets. We were not worried about losing. They say that asiyekubali kushindwa sio mshindani. But we are not competing to lose. Okay. We're competing to win.
2024, one of the major highlights was the events that led to the June 25th, popularly known as the Gen Z protests. And what is your reflection?
Well, Gen Z was basically a continuation of what we had done last year. Remember, last year we were on the streets, and some of the issues which were raised by Gen Zs are very similar to the issues that we raised last year. We ended up to the intervention of the international community with the NADCO team to deal with this issue. A NADCO team prepared a report which is very comprehensive. But there was reluctance to implement the NADCO report, which therefore made it easier for the Gen Zs. You see, the Gen Zs' complaints were the same. It was not just about the tax bill, as they've been simplified. They raised very fundamental issues, very comprehensive.
Including unemployment.
Yes. And They basically came up and tested Article 1 of our Constitution about the sovereignty.
Yes.
Which says that sovereignty in the Republic of Kenya rests with the people of Kenya. They can either exercise it directly or through their elected representatives. So you see, they showed that they had no confidence in their elected representatives. That's why they stormed Parliament. That is the legislature. Then they said they had no confidence in the judiciary. They stormed the Supreme Court. And then thirdly, they said they had no confidence in the executive. They were on the way to State House. They were only stopped by the military. So that basically seems that the people wanted to take the sovereignty into their own hands, exercise it. No confidence in the government. So, because the government consists of 3 arms: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, in those circumstances, you could see there's a lot of tension, and there was also a lot of bloodshed. And I myself made a proposal that we should have a national convention to talk about our country. I was basically referring to that Article 1, that now, because it says the sovereignty rests with the people, but it does not say how the people can exercise that sovereignty. You see, it only says the other one, that through the elected representatives, and that they know they can go to the ballot and vote. But how they can exercise direct sovereignty is not provided for, it's not explained. So what I was saying is that you could have a convention where people are represented, and they go and sit down and discuss, and then agree on the way forward. That was the basis of my proposal. But when I did that, the Gensis told me that they don't want any meetings, that the government knows what they want. They don't want meetings have been held. Including
that Ngalo made a very passionate appeal to you and said that, Raila, please don't come through for this one. Let us young people deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was not able to proceed. I stayed away. But then the president responded by dissolving the cabinet. That, in my view, is what deflated the pressure. Because now there's no government to criticize. And then it says you're going to consult extensively to form a new government. And now the agencies were not available for any consultations. You asked them to come forward, they were not coming forward. You see, so you are in a catch-22 situation. Then you could see the threat of using the military. The military was brought on the streets, which was a very dangerous development, because the military should never be deployed against civilian uprising. Military is just there basically for external defense of the country, and they cannot use the military without authority of parliament. Of course, they went to parliament and rigged what you would call authority that time. So they were very challenging times in our country. And basically what happened was the president then went ahead and reconstituted his cabinet. And we are where we are today. But I still think that there's still need for more constructive engagement in the country.
And there are some who allude, maybe this is an opportunity to respond to them, that those who allude that you are a beneficiary of the Gen Z protests. What do you have to say?
I'm not a beneficiary of Gen Z process. This has been useless allegations made in the media. I've not benefited. What happened was President Ruto said he wants to involve the larger society in the governance, and asked if we could give him some people from our party. I consulted with my other colleagues in the Azimio coalition, and some were ready, some were not ready. In the end, we basically seconded some of our people to the government to work, but it was not like forming a pact. It was not a coalition, because we did not sit down and negotiate the basis of a coalition. So these people were basically just hired on their merits, and they had to relinquish their position in the party, not the membership. They were members of the party.
And you joined an unpopular regime, a regime that right now a section also of the political class are also accusing it of using very iron-edged kind of approach, and especially the issue of abduction, which is just a continuation perhaps of the Gen Z aftermath.
We did not help to steady a sinking ship. See, what you don't realize is that there was a very high likelihood of the country degenerating into a state of anarchy, which can be very dangerous. You can see what happened in Egypt, and also what happened in Libya during the Arab Spring. And if you're not careful, that arrangement can easily happen here.
Okay. And Mr. Odinga, you've spoken passionately about abduction, and just after you made your latest remark condemning abduction and calling for a stop, there have been reported incidences of abduction still ongoing. Is this a concern to you?
Serious concern. That was my message for Christmas, that these abductions are abhorrent, and they are an affront to the rule of law in our country. They are very dangerous development, like a mafia state, where you're not sure of yourself. You see young people being abducted. They even have video clips by people who are so confident. They look like police officers in civilian clothes, but they really know exactly what they're doing. And they're taking people to unknown destinations and keeping them and torturing them from the revelations of those who have been released. And they have handcuffs. The people are being handcuffed. Handcuffs are not good that you can go to a supermarket and buy. Handcuffs are special at times. They are only bought by the state Ordinary civilians cannot have handcuffs.
And yet the IG of police, Douglas Kanja, the Inspector General of Police, say these are not our people.
Tell me, who are these people who have got handcuffs and come and have got the confidence to abduct somebody in the presence of people, and no police officer is doing anything against them? What they used to, the gang of General Papadoc de Valier, they were called Tom Makut, who used to abduct people and take them and torture them. So this is like the Tom Makut of Papadoc. This is a state of gangsters. Gangsterism is not something that we can tolerate in our country.
And you are a victim. You have been tortured before. And some of these people who've actually gone through this, it has really affected them. Some were even crying, and some were saying that their lives will never be the same again.
Yes, you know, in our days there, they used to arrest people. They would then put you into a vehicle, they would blindfold you, they would run around with you. You end up in the dungeons there in the Nyayo house, where they would put you in a waterlogged cell to freeze there overnight, and then you'll be taken, you'll be clobbered, your eyes will be tied, and then you'll be interrogated, and they extract confession from you. And then once you've confessed, then you are taken to court in the evening, and then you are sentenced at that time. Now, we thought that those era was gone.
The infamous Nyayo torture chambers.
I spent 2 weeks there, but some people spent even months in the Nyayo torture chambers. So I'm a graduate of that, and I don't want this to come back again. I don't want to see people being molested merely because they hold a different opinion from you. See, democracy is that people are free to think, to conceive ideas which not only necessarily conform to the thinking of the regime. Now, this animal that has come called social media, it's a new animal, but it is challenging all governments across the world. You just need to find a way of dealing with it, because these are realities of technological evolution. So we must embrace them and see how we can live in an orderly society.
Okay. Even as we went up, Mr. Odinga, we recently saw a development from Gatundu. We saw, in as much as you are not the appointing authority in terms of cabinet nomination, but we did see a handshake between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the current President William Ruto. What is your take on that?
Well, Uhuru is a former president, Ruto is a former vice president. They were in government until the election day. And Kenyans know exactly what happened with the elections. And they had been working in the same government until the last time. And Uhuru went to the swearing-in ceremony and handed over power to Ruto. So
they were also at odds in the build-up to the 2022 election, and which was, you can argue, was fueled by Uhuru Kenyatta's handshake with you.
What I'm saying is we never had a handshake with Uhuru. People just said handshake. Like, I've never had any handshake with Ruto. People actually misconceive this as the word of handshake. A handshake I had with Kibaki, and then this one had a handshake, with Uhuru, when we agreed and we signed that accord, which ended up with production of the report. But then we went public in front of office of the president, and we did a handshake formally with Uhuru, like we had done with Kibaki. We did a handshake. I have not had any handshake with Ruto, because we have not agreed on a written document. Okay, Uhuru just greeted Ruto. They never said that this is a handshake, that they are going to work together. That has not been the case.
But later on, we saw a nomination of cabinet secretaries which had names of perceived allies of the former head of state.
Well, Ruto had said that he wanted to form a government that was representative of the rest of the country. And he had started, when he got some people from ODM, and now he got people from Jubilee, and so on. And that itself is not a handshake. It's just broadening his government. Okay? But that if there's any handshake, it will be on the basis of things which have been negotiated and agreed on. And then it will be announced formally that we have now come to an agreement. This is what we are going to implement.
There are issues that have affected Kenyans. We're talking about issues that pain the payslip, talking about deductions. There is the SHIF, the social health insurance, you have the affordable housing. It's really been a challenge for Kenyans to get more income. Their income instead is shrinking as a result of taxation. As Kenyans go into the new year, what do you want to tell them about the perceived high cost of living and what the future holds for them?
Well, see, the government has got a responsibility to make life easier for the population. At the same time, the government has also a responsibility to initiate certain projects which makes life easier for the people and creates wealth for the nation. So it is a challenge all the times, inflicting pain on the people and making it easier also for the people at the same time. So I would ask the government to basically take a very comprehensive look at what is happening, because people have been hurting. The cost of living has been very high. There are ways in which you can ease it, but also still be able to get sufficient revenue that you require for to be able to provide certain services to the country. We are in this situation not for the first time. We have been in this situation before. I remember when we came to power after many years of Kanu rule, we had similar challenges. And we sat down with then late President Kibaki and came up with a solution, way forward. We had promised in our campaign that we are going to introduce free primary education in the country. And in spite of serious challenges facing us at that time, we introduced free primary education. And we found wastages which were there in terms of revenue collection and also in terms of procurement, which were highly inflated. Basically, the animal called corruption. And we dealt with that animal called corruption. If you can deal with that issue of corruption, there is enough money. There will be enough money in the country because there's a lot of wastage of public resources. So you don't need to overtax the people to raise revenue.
As we went up, do you still believe Adani was a good deal?
Certainly, you know, people need to understand this, that, you see, the government cannot finance development projects on the basis of taxation. It's not just sustainable at all. What other governments are doing is attracting private sector into some of these development projects. What Mr. Modi has done in India. See, in 10 years, Modi has moved India's economy from the 10th largest economy in the world to the 5th largest economy. He now intends to take it to the 3rd largest economy. It's only Germany and Japan which are ahead of it. But in about 5 years' time, India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world. He has built, in that period, 132,000 kilometers of railway line through PPP. You see, highways have been built across India. Ports have been built across India. Airports have been built across India through public-private partnerships. You see, and that is what is happening also in Dubai. So I'm saying, you're talking about Adani, go to Ahmedabad town, look at the airport in Ahmedabad. Go to New Delhi, look at the airport in New Delhi. All those projects, go to a town called Mundra, where they built a complete new port, and they built an airport, and they built a power plant, 4,900 megawatts of power. A village that was a sleeping village of 5,000 people has shot up to be a town of 500, half a million people, because industries have come into that town. You see, the charges against Adani are because of competition in India for projects. That's why Adani is being charged in America about evading taxes here, or doing this and that here. Those are basically commercial.
Is it witch hunt?
Yeah, so what I'm saying, Adani, that is an Indian conglomerate. It works for the Indian government even today. So you see, there is just misconception and vested commercial interests which are competing. And that's why Adani finds himself in that kind of situation. I have no regrets because I know myself for fact what has happened, the reality, where the reality is.
Thank you so much. The reality is we can always have this conversation, but this is where we end this exclusive interview with Right Honorable Raila Odinga on his 2024 reflection and what he plans for the year ahead, that is 2025. Top of his agenda, of course, is his Africa Union Commission chairperson bid, which will be determined in an election in February in Addis Ababa. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for staying with us. Kenya's candidate for the Africa Union Commission chairmanship, Raila Odinga, says he helped prevent the country from deteriorating into anarchy by supporting President William Ruto soon after the historic Gen Z riots that led to the invasion of parliament. Raila says there is no formal agreement between his Orange Democratic Party and the president's United